Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Creative Entrepreneur interview series. So happy to have you here. We are talking with other creative entrepreneurs on how they serve creatives, because we're creative serving creatives, writers serving writers. A little bit about me. I'm Beth Barany. I'm an award-winning science fiction and fantasy novelist. I love those genres. I have 12 novels out, working on my 13th, and I have 5 books out there for writers because I'm a book coach specializing in helping people finalize their science fiction and fantasy novels and take them to publication. And now I'm also building up creative entrepreneurship training program to help creative writers who want to build profitable, sustainable businesses serving other creatives so they can share their expertise with confidence while making a living doing what they love. So that's about me. Gala, take it away.
Hi, I'm Russ, and I'm the co-host today, and also a co-creator and co-conspirator with Beth on the Creative Entrepreneurship Apprenticeship. Was so excited about our first cohort that starts in September. We want to have the hands-on experience with all of the people who really want to do this, but are either not sure how to start or just need a little bit of extra boost. And I started in the creative writing space as a romance author. I write with a co-author as Willa Drew, and I have become then a book coach and a publishing strategist, I call myself, helping people figure out how to publish what the best way and how to get that book out there. And now we have a wonderful guest. Nadine, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Nadine Shaw. I'm a professional developmental editor, and I specialize in fantasy, romance, LGBTQ fiction, and contemporary fiction. I've been professionally editing since 2018, and yeah, I love it. I'm also a writer, and so it's great to be here.
Thanks so much. Gala, take it away.
I am going to ask you first question. The first question for you is, what is something you wish you would have learned earlier about starting your creative business?
Yeah, it's a great question. I really wish I understood the power of small, consistent tasks rather than trying to master or trying to 100% master everything first. Man, and if anyone's neurospicy like myself, this is going to be something where they totally get what I'm talking about. It took me, unfortunately, 2 years to handle the administrative side of things. The creative aspect of editing was something I jumped into easily, but the admin, like, I spent 2 years on questions like, am I a sole proprietorship? What's a EIN? What are the things I need to open a business account? How to make a website? Which payment system is best? These questions really plagued me, and due to ADHD overwhelm, it really prevented me from I don't know, I ended up just spending months avoiding certain tasks, and then it ended up cascading into years, like 2 years of putting off stuff. So my biggest advice would be to have resources early, like schedule a consultation with a lawyer or an accountant. It would save me so much time. Sometimes, certain cities even have, free small business associations where you can ask them questions. Yeah, so don't let the fear of not knowing how to do everything at 100% mastery prevent you from just starting. I really wish I just broke things up into small tasks and started.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think the reason why I was able to do those things pretty quickly is because I worked for a small business before I
Mhm.
became self-employed. So I saw the nuts and bolts, plus I was her admin. But if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known at all where to begin. So I think you're right in like reaching out for support. And just about every city will have an office of retired business people who will speak to you for free. And if not that, there's often business associations that you can join right away people will just go, oh, let me help you. And I joined also a networking group right away. And people were like, have you read this book? Have you done this? Do you know about this? And I'm like, no, no, tell me, tell me. And people were just throwing resources at me. And it was so, so good. Yeah.
There's so many people who want to help you, and you just gotta learn to ask for help, which can also be really tough. But it's a humbling experience, but it does really just catapult your growth when you learn how to use resources and network.
Yeah, and I love what you just said about asking for help. I think that's a big lesson independent creatives need to do. I had to go through that phase where it was a big wake-up call to learn how to ask for help because I was a little Miss Independent. And I've just seen yeah, I've just seen my business and my creative life has grown by leaps and bounds because I'm willing to ask for help. And my business was suffering before I learned to ask for help and partner with people. So, yeah. Anything to add, Gal?
For my end, I want to piggyback on the asking for help because I'm also I'm a learner. My number one strength, Beth and I are the same on that way. So my very first instinct is to go and figure it out on my own, and I always can, but it a lot of times take very long time. Like what you were talking, Nadine, it just takes a long time. So, for example, for me, with all of the how to set up a business and stuff like that, I ended up taking a 10-month class. It was basically for small businesses and people who wanted to be coaches for all the different, it was not for book specific stuff. It was just any kind of domain. And they very clearly guided and said, hey, these are the things you can set up a website on. These are the things can do for payments. These are the things you can use the templates. And it was so nice because I traded like the money for time.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go and do that research. I knew that I could trust them and they gave me all the information and I went and used it right away. So it was very quickly. So within a couple of months, I had all of that set up and functional, and my brain didn't have to be bogged down with all of that. I could use it in more creative ways, which is my strength, anyways. So
Mhm.
sometimes it's worth asking for help and taking the help. But if you don't have the money, then you trade the time, and then you have to go and
Yeah.
figure. And so it's a trade off. See what you have.
That's great. I think
You
my
were
yeah.
question number 2.
Question number 2, Nadine. So how do you currently describe what you do and who you serve? And I just have to say your website is amazing. I can answer that question maybe for you, but I don't want to. I want you to tell us, but I just want to say thank you. Thank you for creating such a beautiful website.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's touching. Thank you. I usually help people who have aspirations of traditional publication, although I also help indie authors too. I help them refine their manuscripts. Interestingly, this is kind of a trend I didn't expect, but 90% of my clients are people who finish their first draft and they send it to me. And that's not really common. A lot of people will revise their draft like several times before hiring an editor. But it's what we were talking about earlier, where you trade like money to save on time. And so a lot of them want to hire me so they can save years of that editing process. And then the other 10% are people who have tried to query, but they're not getting like any bites. And so they come to me to ask. But the majority of my services are really helping with developmental editing, or even people who have like a lot of great vibes. They just don't have like a structure or an outline in place. And so I am very much, I love structure. Yeah, Save the Cat is like my story Bible, So, yeah, and then I also something that kind of sets me apart from other editors is that my editorial notes are so beefy. They're like at least like 80 pages long, single spaced. And I think it stems from me being one, like having ADHD, and your book becomes my hyperfixation. Another aspect is that I think I would feel maybe a little bitter if I had dropped $4,000 on an edit and I only got like 8 pages of like feedback of what I was doing wrong. I don't find that kind of feedback helpful. What I find helpful is a list of like what's not quite working, and then like 5 to 7 solutions on how to fix that. That also aligns with the voice and vision of the story. And I also like to create like graphs for like reader interest, like POV distribution, pacing. I'm just a nerd and I love what I do.
Well, we authors, thank you. Listen, that's so wonderful, and I think an author who's really serious about their career and is going to invest to work with an editor like you. And there's a lot of different kinds of editors, so It sounds like certain kinds of writers are going to be really attracted to what it is that you offer. That's so wonderful.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
I always recommend if you have the money as a writer, hiring a developmental editor for your first books is huge because I was super lucky to have the developmental editor that I had. And I usually basically call her as my private university course because on my book, she taught me the structure and the things that I do well and that I need help with, provided me with additional resources. I was showing as you were talking about Save the Cat and like all of the other books because I'm
Mhm.
a huge Star Trek nerd, and she just like directed me to where to go and where to learn these things. And all of that money was so, so, so well spent because I think that I love people who have MFAs, but a lot of times actually having a great developmental editor is going to teach you the nitty gritty of the practical structure and how to on your own work. It's amazing stuff you guys do. I loved it.
I mean, even as like a professional editor, I am going to be hiring an editor for my stuff because you lose all subjectivity when it comes to, or objectivity when it comes to your story. You need other eyes.
For sure. You always need other eyes on your own work. There's some stuff you can do because you know, but you need other people.
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
Mm. Question number 3. Okay. Question number 3 is what mindset shifts helped you feel comfortable sharing your work publicly?
Maybe you can see me cringing a little before this, but it really comes down to this basic tip, like block your mom, block your ex, block like that person from high school whose opinion matters way too freaking much. Like if you wouldn't want someone breathing down your neck at your 9 to 5, they do not deserve a front row seat for like your creative endeavors or for you to go pursue your dreams. I think I actually did block my mom, and we still have a great relationship. I just told her, like, "Look, I feel like I'm watering down my stuff and not saying what I really need to say, and therefore not finding people who need me because I'm so worried about what you're gonna think. I'm so worried about, we don't have, like, aligning political views or this or that, and political activism is very big for me. I think it's like I can't run my business without talking about it, and I need to not be worried about how this is gonna affect us." Yeah, and so she totally gets it, and my post became bolder, and it met the people I needed for it to meet. But I'm not posting because you're afraid of being perceived as cringe. You're essentially letting people who aren't even your target audience shape your success, and that was something I really didn't ever want to get in my way. Yeah, so you're not performing for the critics, you're just, like, trying to amplify your message to find the people you need to serve.
Resonates so much with me. I'm like, that's every post that I make is like, oh, what will this or that person think? And then I remember that they are not my target audience whatsoever. And then also, if those people are judging you, then those are not the people that you want in your life anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's a good barometer or whatever litmus test as to is this a person who really truly supports you, or is this a person who is like either jealous or judgmental of you, and you're like,
Yeah.
Exactly. I have had some growth, like, my future mother-in-law just followed my business account, and I'm like, "You know what? I could block her, but I'm also like, let her see the little freak I am." And so I'm like, she needs to know one way, and if she has a problem with it, she does have a problem with it, but I'm like, "You're not my target audience, and that's okay,
my
but
target
take
audience.
along for
Right.
the ride, I guess."
Yeah, yeah, and it's really such a great learning. I know, I really allowed myself to take these steps. Have the blog called Writer's Fun Zone, and it's like a blatant reminder to go have fun, which to me is a bit of daring, and to show up however I wanted to show up there. And it was my first, like, sandbox where I would just test new ideas and be what felt like on the edge. That's why another name for my publication was gonna be Notes from the Edge, because I feel like I'm always exploring, I'm always pushing the envelope, and I needed a sandbox, or literally a play space where I can do that. And now my podcast, How to Write the Future, is that play space with conversations as well as playing with visuals, and we all need that space, I think, as creatives to play. And you're so right to like block out the folks who are not for us. And I love what you were saying. It's don't talk to the critics. We've got to talk to our core audience, the ones who actually cheer for us and go, oh my God, where have you been? I totally need your help.
I love really heavily lean into that attract and repel marketing strategy. A lot of people have thoughts on it, but it's a
I'm
I think I agree because a lot of times when we're trying to be appealing to everyone, and that was one of the things when people talk about how do I identify my target reader or how to identify my target audience. This is one of the things by identifying your target audience, you are going to automatically exclude some people. And that is a good thing because you don't want to do it. So like when I help people do their art campaigns, I'm like, you need to put this and this and this because this is automatically going to take people out. Like if I put this as a sweet romance with cinnamon roll MM's main character.
Yeah.
People who don't want to read sweet romance with this, they're going to fall off, and you're not going to get 2 1-star reviews because they're going to be like, well, I don't actually like sweet romance because that's not who you want. You want people who want to read sweet romance or who want to read dark romance. So like you need to be very specific, and some people read both, and that's totally great. And then they're going to be responding to either one or the other ad. So yeah. Another conversation I could have for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot to ask you, Nadine, what kind of fiction do you write?
I also write fantasy or like fantasy romance with a lot of political elements.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I want people to know that you're a creative writer and you help writers. Like that's a whole conversation we'll have to have. We'll have to do a series just on how to balance being a creative writer and running a business because that's what I've been doing for the last 19 years, and it's its own thing. So stay tuned, folks. But I just want to wrap up for today. We'll definitely have to continue the conversation another time, Nadine. I think there's so much to talk about, and I love what you're up to. Thank you so much for coming today and taking some time to share with us what you do. I feel like I want to ask you all the questions.
Same. This is not enough time. We're going to have to figure out another avenue to talk more for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on. It was awesome to connect with your guys' energy.
Oh, good. I'm so great. Well, we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.